Hello and thank you for joining us. This video has been recorded as part of our Postgraduate Open Day activity. My name is Sarah GERAGHTY. I'm Director of Student Recruitment and Outreach here at NUI Galway. And I'm joined by colleagues from across campus to give you an introduction to postgraduate studies at NUI Galway. So NUI Galway is one of the oldest and largest universities in Ireland, beginning with just 68 students who were founded in 1845. Today, we have a campus community of over 21,000 students and staff. And importantly, NUI Galway is counted among the top 300 universities in the world and consistently ranks in the top 1 or 2% of universities globally. So we are an international university with global ambition, but very much with deep roots in the region. And this discussion is going to explore these topics of global ambition and regional strengths and what you can expect as a postgraduate student at NUI Galway. So the topics we'll be talking about today include research and industry-led teaching, the learning environment for postgrad students, how postgrad studies can improve your overall employability, what industry and employers and society need of postgraduates and of future leaders, our global footprint as a university, and also about Galway as a student city, particularly for postgrad students and for international students who are coming such a long way to study with us. I'm joined by 3 colleagues from across campus to discuss these topics. Dr. Noel Carroll is Programme Director for the MSc in Information Systems Management and Associate Head of Learning, Teaching and Assessment within the J.E. Cairnes School of Business and Economics here at NUI Galway. Marie LAFFEY is the Head of the Career Development Centre at NUI Galway, and JOHANNA WALSH is the International Marketing Manager at NUI Galway. So I'll hand over to my expert colleagues who have joined us. Noel, and I'm going to come to you first, and you're going to share with us some of your observations as a Programme Director and your experience of teaching, learning and assessment, and perhaps some of your observations on postgrad teaching and learning, thinking about our location, the university's ecosystem, and the influence of industry and research excellence we have in Galway. I know you have a couple of slides to share, so I'll hand over to you and you can share your screen.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's try and share those. Hopefully you can see them.
Perfect.
Okay, great. So thank you for that. So my name is Noel Carroll, and it's wonderful to see so much interest in our programs at NUI Galway. I suppose firstly, I'd like to congratulate you for taking, I suppose, this first step, as part of the, your milestone in your career and I suppose your life journey. You've taken the first step, I think, into a path that you wish to advance your skills and your opportunities in life, and taking the right decision, I guess, is important to you and also was in terms of the university and the program that you select. It's also important to us that you're part of our family here at NUI Galway. So over the next few minutes, I'll provide, I suppose, an overview in terms of how we can try to ensure that our programs are of the highest quality and in terms of being relevant to supporting you as you try to progress in the workplace and indeed the wider society. So I suppose first of all, if we look at the QS World Rankings, at the start, it's important to us to look at where we're positioned across the world. And NUI Galway is ranked at the top 1% in terms of universities in 2021. This is according to the QS rankings. And we continue to perform very strong on the global stage. So I think that's important to take some reassurance that we're key players, I suppose, across the globe in terms of delivering education and research and so on. So these rankings confirm our position in the world in terms of being the highest standard in terms of education across the world. And again, being at the top 1% across the world, it's important for you also to take that into account, that you have some, I suppose, reassurance that you are, I suppose, amongst the best in terms of education as well. If we also take our position in terms of rankings, it's important that we look at our position in something that I described as the NUI GERAGHTY. So our position globally really matters to us, and I guess to you also as students. That is something that we often describe as the NUI GERAGHTY. By this, I often refer to something that really distinguishes us from other universities in terms of what we offer, and our global location also in being I guess, the gateway to Europe. And across all of the universities, we have excellent standards in terms of the number of domains that we have in terms of arts, healthcare, in terms of business, engineering, and our professional development. So across the college and across our schools, we always undergo this, I suppose, rigorous equality assessment process also to ensure that we are, that we're delivering education at the highest standards and ensure that we also, I suppose, remain relevant in terms of the opportunities that we provide for students. And just to kind of highlight exactly where we're positioned, I think it's important to look at having that regional edge also, in terms of being the gateway of Europe, and how that opens up new opportunities for us to engage in new opportunities in terms of our local ecosystem and so on. And that ecosystem is something that's important to drive our education also, and it's something that we also try to encourage our academics and our researchers to get engaged in. So one example of this is where we really benefit from the NUI GERAGHTY is this wonderful surrounding ecosystem in Galway. And it's something that we're often, I suppose, described as being the Silicon Valley of Ireland. And we always try to encourage collaboration between industry in terms of research and teaching. And this is an example here, just, I suppose, a very quick screenshot of our technology sector and our medtech sector, and that ecosystem that's created within Galway and the surrounding areas. So this is something that we try to encourage our staff and our students to try and tap into, but also to ensure that they have an awareness of the richness of that ecosystem and how we can also collaborate with industry, and industry can collaborate with us in terms of our teaching and our research practices. And that ecosystem also kind of feeds in and lends itself well to how we teach today. And it's something that I describe as teaching today's students to be leaders of tomorrow. And we often strive to teach and encourage our students to become leaders of tomorrow, not only by, as we're taking part in courses and programs, but also extending their capabilities beyond the program and becoming more aware of their role in society and also the role in terms of sustainability going forward. We do, I suppose, a lot of research in many interesting areas, but also this feeds into our teaching practices. So teaching and research, I suppose, coexist. Our research informs our teaching, and our teaching is motivated by our research. And this is to ensure that we remain engaged in terms of our industry collaboration, but also the innovation across NUI Galway in terms of how we plug in the industry connections also. As part of our role also in terms of being leaders of tomorrow, we also try to encourage our students, to be conscious and be aware of the importance of policy and practice, and in terms of how we lead going forward as students and alumni of NUI Galway. So that's I suppose, a quick overview in terms of how we try to align our teaching and research in terms of trying to deliver excellence as part of what we do here at NUI Galway. I might hand you back to Sarah.
Great. Thank you, Noel. That's just a great starting point and the big picture of where we're situated. And that leads us on to the topic of employability. And Marie, in your role as the head of the Career Development Centre, you meet, I guess, hundreds of employers and thousands of students each year. And when students are thinking about a master's, they're very much thinking about, looking forward to 12 months' time and how will their situation have changed? How will they be in a better employability position? So in your experience, looking at skills first, what are the key skills a postgraduate student typically learns in that year, and how are these valued by employers?
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for having me here today. Delighted to be here. So first of all, to say that, doing a postgraduate study absolutely enhances your career prospects and your employability. And we're seeing that in our own graduate outcome survey, where we see our postgraduate students are more likely to be in employment within 6 to 9 months of graduating. And we're definitely seeing that in figures. So in terms of the skills, Deloitte actually recently did a study about the skills required for a future workforce. And those skills really included continuous learning, adaptive thinking, collaboration, communication, that cross-cultural intelligence, the global citizenship, emotional intelligence, flexibility. And we can see from with the programs in NUI Galway, gives you absolute opportunity there to build those skills. So Noel referred there to the ecosystem and that NUI Galway edge. And I loved the NUI Galway edge because we're seeing that from employers who have actually said back to us that our students at a postgraduate level who join them stand out. Not only do they stand out, but they excel faster in their organizations and they're retained longer in the organizations. So opportunities in your programs to build those skills would include, working on your group projects, conducting research. Noel mentioned the ecosystem there. So I know in a lot of programs, they're leveraging opportunities for master classes, connection opportunities and network opportunities with employers, opportunities to travel and go to centres, to seminars, to conferences, are all going to build these skills. And in particular, when you join a postgraduate class, you're joining a class that is a variety of demographics of students where, both at the nationally and international level. And a lot of those students will come with experience. So you're really getting the value then of the experience of your class to help in that cross-cultural intelligence. So, definitely at a postgraduate level, you're really getting those, fine-tuning those skills and that are transferable into industry, and where you're in a smaller class, so you're having that opportunity to build all of those skills at a much deep dive view, whereas in the undergraduate level you're at a much larger classes, less opportunity, if any, to access employers. So, I definitely feel at a postgraduate level, you're really fine-tuning those skills and fine-tuning those employability skills that employers are seeking,
Thanks, Marie. And what really comes across there is that the skills aren't just valuable in your job search, that right into your career, that you'll
Absolutely.
be coming back to them and leaning on them, and that they'll be pushing you up the ladder right into your career, and not just at that initial job search.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Sarah. And so in terms of, what we're seeing, actually, those skills help you be shortlisted. They help you in terms of securing the position at a higher salary than at an undergraduate. And also there, as I mentioned, what employers have said to us is that you're moving faster up the ladder in terms of the career ladder. So it absolutely stands to you to have your postgraduate qualification.
Okay, and a follow-up question, and you've probably covered a lot of it, but maybe just to crystallize it for people, when we meet prospective students at open days and career fairs, they often describe a master's as a bit like an investment. And, you may be weighing up, will I buy a car or will I do a master's? It's a substantial investment of funds, but also of time and of headspace and dedication. So in thinking about a master's as an investment, what value do you think graduates will see at the other end of that, maybe in terms of their CV or in other ways?
Absolutely, Sarah, and it is an investment. I mean, in terms of the cost, but it absolutely does add value to your CV. So I'll give you an example. In terms, as I said, our graduates are getting, our postgraduates would be hired and shortlisted quicker. So it really makes you stand out. Employers are have more value on that postgraduate qualification. And a couple of reasons why for your CV is that if you're, as I said, you're deep diving into the subject and your expertise matter that you're focused on. But in addition to that extra skills that you're building by those master classes or networking opportunities that you're building on your CV, the actual course content, we would always recommend to specify that course content. Again, it helps in terms of that shortlisting. But an awful lot of our programs now in NUI Galway have a placement opportunity, and that's invaluable, particularly if you've come from an undergraduate program that did not have embedded in placement. What we're seeing now that employers are very much value placement on postgraduate programs. So if that's work experience, valid, relevant work experience that you can add now onto your CV, not only your CV, but you can talk to it in an interview, your experience of it, the work you've done. So it gives you a more solid example in terms of to discuss with an employer. However, one of the things actually as well, what we're seeing is that our students will go on placement, and we have an 85% retention rate for students in a master program who are going on to work experience. The remaining students, they've decided to maybe to go to a different employer. So it's an employer see it as a great test drive, you know, to test drive you in our company for that time. And as I said, 85% would hire the students. So it's invaluable work experience, particularly if you haven't had that work experience at undergraduate level. And we're seeing that if you have relevant experience, you're more likely to be shortlisted, you're more likely to do well at interview and secure that position. So definitely NUI Galway offers more and more of our programs now are adding work placement to them. And this is invaluable to have in your CV. And can I just say as well, actually, not just the CV, but your LinkedIn profile, your own brand, and building who you are and in terms of your presence from a professional perspective. So taking that information from your CV, putting it on to your LinkedIn profile, because, for example, Noel talked about group projects in terms of the ecosystem, networking events. These are all can fill out into your LinkedIn profile that when employers are shortlisting, which many do now on LinkedIn, you're going to be up in that list in terms of the algorithm first, because you're having relevant information and relevant subjects and content and experience in terms of your postgraduate program.
Marie, I think we could probably talk about this topic all day, but thanks for giving us such a detailed overview. And it really shines through that there probably isn't a single thing that one can do for their own career that will give you such an immediate boost. As you know, and when you think about a master's, it is 9 months generally. You know, it's a short-term investment for really long-term gain, and it's hard to think of another way that you could boost your career in such an efficient way.
Absolutely, Sarah, and it's particular when you have maybe a 4 to 5 month placement embedded in that. It's invaluable, you know. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Marie. That really shines through for us, particularly in that stat of 85%. Absolutely. That shows us that, you know, employers are, you know, feel like they have the right fit with these students in their companies. It's a great endorsement. Yeah. We might think globally for a few minutes. And Johanna, in your role, you travel to international markets, you advise and support international students who are planning to study at NUI Galway. And maybe just think about the global footprint of the university. Could you tell us about NUI Galway as a global university and why so many international students who can choose, you know, any country and any university, why they choose NUI Galway for their postgrad studies?
Of course, Sarah, and thanks for the opportunity to be here today. Well, the university continues on its journey to be a truly global university. In terms of the presence on the campus, we have about 4,000 international students. So you have 110 different countries represented on the campus, making it an international university. So yes, we welcome students from all over the world, and we want all of the students to be immersed in that global experience. So they develop all of the qualities that we've mentioned there. And you could use the term, they're global competencies. So it's the employment skills, it's the mixing with the students from different culturals. So our worldwide approach then, I guess it's influenced by the location, and Galway city itself is a city that's rich with the history of reaching out into the world, its port location. So in terms of our connections across the globe, we have student exchange programs with over 200 international universities worldwide. We have the global staff community. 35% of the staff are from outside of Ireland, hailing from 45 different nations, all on the campus. Galway has a greater international community than any other city in Ireland, and that's according to the figures from the Central Statistics Office. So as a result, then when the students arrive in Galway, they do receive that warm welcome in an international city. So then in terms of our global reputation, Ireland is known worldwide. It's known as that knowledge economy. So we have an excellent reputation worldwide for our education systems. The government have invested heavily in this, and it collaborates well with industry and the higher education sector. So our qualifications are recognized worldwide. And in terms of our global reputation, as we picked up on the rankings earlier, we're 258th best university, and that's according to the 2021 QS World University Rankings. So we're number 3 in Ireland and the top university then outside of Dublin.
Thanks, Johanna. And you referred to it a moment ago about Galway as, you know, a university city and a great student city. And something that you look after and your team looks after is assisting international students in moving to Ireland and moving to Galway. And from what you hear from them, what do you think makes Galway such a great city to move to and to spend a year, such an important year of your life in?
Yeah, well, I guess there's a combination of factors that come up to make Galway a great student city. So we do time and again, we ask the international students, why did you choose Galway? And consistently they tell us that they did their research and they wanted to attend a world-class university. So that's where they can gain the professional experience and also the international experience. So they choose their course then, a course that expands their professional horizons. And something that, as we've pointed out there, it opens up the doors for the future. So all in all, then they comment that the offering we have here in terms of the tuition fees and the cost of living, it's an affordable offering. And of course, then there's that opportunity to live in the cultural and friendly city. So I guess as the readers of Condé Nast Traveller magazine, they voted Galway the friendliest city in Europe. And that's, again, that's what the international students tell us as well.
So a really, I guess, a well-rounded reasons to study in Galway, I guess, you know, from the professional and the social side of things, that Galway just ticks so many boxes for international students. And I guess we have to think that all students, whether you're coming from your Galway city or you're coming from somewhere further afield, we're all, I guess, global students and global citizens, and the diversity in the classes makes the teaching and the learning all the richer. No, thinking about that, about global citizenship, we might come back to you for one final question before we wrap up, and maybe it's about graduate attributes. And as a program director, what are the attributes that you hope to see in students, master's students in the coming years? What is it that you think industry and society needs in future leaders?
Sure, that's a great question. So this is something that, I guess, as academics, we're constantly being tied into as well, like to ensure that we are delivering the best graduates in the world, like to ensure that we're meeting the expectations of industry and of society. So it's much broader than just industry. But generally, like what we're beginning to see is that we are putting more emphasis on our graduates being problem solvers, ensuring that they have very effective and efficient kind of communication and collaboration standards, that they actually are involved and get a sense of being part of this global kind of citizen aspect. It's, I suppose, as part of that, we're beginning to see more and more importance, both in the workforce and also across society, that as part of our graduate attributes, that our students, our graduates need to be adaptive. They need to respond to, as we've seen in the last year or so, crisis. We need to ensure that they can respond and adapt effectively also. But an important aspect that we're beginning to see more and more of, especially from our graduates, is this appetite for lifelong learning. There's a greater sense that this learning cycle is not just kind of a once-off, that there's an appetite there to continuously improve and continuously adapt into new areas, improve as citizens, improve as enterprising, I suppose, graduates also. But bearing in mind that there's a greater emphasis now also in aspects of environmental and sustainability aspects. So all of these, I suppose, insights, both from society and industry, also influence how we deliver in terms of our educational standards and also the content that we deliver. So these graduate attributes, they also evolve over time. But we're putting, I suppose, more and more emphasis on problem solvers, adaptability, environmentally conscious citizens of tomorrow's world as well.
So it really sounds like it's just a really exciting time to be a student, a learner, a graduate, and hopefully a future change maker. So I think that's a really good note to end this discussion on. So we've heard a lot in the last few minutes about NUI Galway as a home for postgraduate studies, about the study and learning environment of the university, about our global ambition. We have a suite of other videos that will guide you as prospective students through the practicalities of applying for and securing a place on the master's program of choice for you. And they will cover topics such as fees, scholarships, applications, preparing personal statements. So for more information and I guess next steps in becoming a postgrad student at NUI Galway, visit our website, nuigalway.ie, and we look forward to meeting you at open days and career events and having one-to-one interaction with you over the coming months. So I'll just wrap up by thanking our panelists for their time and their expertise, and you may have an opportunity to meet them also at upcoming open days. So thanks for watching and look forward to chatting to you soon. Thank you.